Part 43. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 422. The school is currently undergoing final exams, and Lily plans to go back to the mountain after the exam. She has not been back to the mountain for several months, and plans to go back to the mountain to practice full-time after the holiday. When he came out of school after taking a subject test at noon, King Han's car was parked outside the school gate. Wang Shishan, whom he hadn't seen for a long time, was standing beside the car talking to King Han. When he saw Lily, he appeared. At this time, he turned to Lily and smiled, holding a stack of folders, and handed them to Lily. The documents on the mountain that allow the Taoist temple were approved in the name of cultural heritage, but that belongs to your territory. My dad said that if you are free one day, I would like to invite you to my house for a meal. After saying this, he wisely took 2 steps back, gestured to King Han, and turned around and left. Go back to the mountain. King Han opened the car door for Lily, got in the car again and started the car before asking Lily. In the past 2 months, the two of them seemed to have become familiar with each other inexplicably. Lily had been preparing to go up the mountain, so she nodded when she heard his words. It has been more than 2 months since I came back to the mountain. When the car parked in front of the villa, Lily just got out of the car and saw that the air in her house was filled with gloom. It was supposed to be a sunny day today, but there was a cloud of light in the middle of the mountain. It seemed as if the sunlight was blocked by clouds, making it look very cold. It was midsummer now, but when Lily got out of the car wearing long sleeves, she felt the hairs on her body stand up. The magic power in her body started to work automatically, and after quickly getting rid of the discomfort, she took out a spell she had drawn before and handed it to King Han. The ground in the room was so cloudy that it was filled with water. It had only been 2 months, but the lock on the door was actually a little rusty. Weeds were growing in the yard, and insects and ants could be seen everywhere. It seemed like a place that had been desolate for decades. Lily felt dumbfounded. He made a seal and said, "Broken." The yin energy gradually dissipated, and the insects that were accustomed to the yin energy began to burrow into the grass. Thinking of these bugs, Lily's heart moved inexplicably, and she was going to prepare something to collect the bugs later. The right time and place, there were so many bugs, and these bugs seemed to be nourished by the cold air. All of them are extremely ferocious, which is good material for raising goo. The resentment of the mother and son of the 9 yin ghosts in the house had solidified at this time, and they looked no worse than the old ghosts who had practiced Taoism for 100 years. When they saw Lily coming back, the female ghost turned her head with a pale face. After moving his fingers, the dim lights in the room lit up. "You're back, it's been such a long time. Where have you been?" She had a look of resentment on her face, like a resentful woman who had been imprisoned for a long time. Only then did Lily remember that she had set up a yin gathering formation a few months ago to trap this. The female ghost was recuperating on the mountain. Unexpectedly, after a few months, she not only seemed to be completely healed from her injuries, but also a little stronger than before. Her body could actually be seen as a shadow under the light. Next to her squatted a 78-year-old girl. A little boy about 10 years old. When he saw Lily, he subconsciously hid behind the ghost mother. Lily ignored her, and almost everything in the house was corroded. There was no place to sit, so she first asked King Han to stay aside. Lily took out a bowl that was usually used to burn incense for her ancestors, mixed a little something and poured it in, and then found some basins. The other things were placed in the yard outside the house. After a while, the sound of insects eating each other came from all around. Some of the insects had mutated under the influence of cold and cold conditions. At this time, the eating sounds sounded creepy. Lily was done. After all this, he washed his hands again and stared at the female ghost. "Recovering well. Thank you so much, my benefactor." A smile appeared on the female ghost's face. Due to her strength, She no longer looked as scary as before, but instead showed a bit of the cute and delicate look she had in life. But she didn't wait for her. After saying her thanks, Lily waved her hand and interrupted her, "Don't talk about it now. After the bugs are collected in the house, you and your son will clean the house first. I will come back later, let me tell you." The previously mighty and domineering red-clothed ghost was dumbfounded. After a while, he responded. He looked at Lily with a depressed look. After checking around, he found that the bugs had all entered the bowl, and then devoured each other and fell into sleep. The bugs inside fell together, and then he called the female ghost in red to clean up. Almost all the furniture in the mountain was destroyed, but fortunately Lily had planned to renovate the Taoist temple this time. The Taoist temple Wang Xishan built for her was in the name of protecting cultural heritage, which meant that the country could allocate a certain amount of money. She used money to help her practice the Taoist temple, but the Taoist temple was nominally owned by the country instead of being private to her. Anyway, Lily just wanted to be famous in this mission, and she was not planning to get married and have children to keep this Taoist temple for a lifetime. Whether it is passed down from generation to generation, whether it is the country's or her own personal, as long as she can have a reputation, she has achieved her goal, and she really doesn't care about the twists and turns in the middle. After tidying up the house, it was impossible for anyone to live in it at the moment. Lily left some medicine to attract the poisonous insects, and ordered the female ghost in red to catch the poisonous insects for herself regularly. She also took some of her blood and essence and sealed it. Let her start dripping in a few drops of the poison each time it was eaten, and then she left the mountain. Building a Taoist temple on the mountain, "Do you need my help?" He King Han turned to look at her, and did not ask her about her action of collecting goo insects just now. Instead, he asked her about building a Taoist temple. He King Han in the plot did not owe anything. Lily doesn't want to owe him anything anymore. After having an unexplainable relationship with Li Yangzi, she has emotional entanglements with other men during the mission, even if she knows that physical contact, Li Yangzi will help. When she left, Lily instinctively resisted. She hesitated, then shook her head. No, no need. The expression on He King Han's face suddenly became silent, and after a long while, he revealed a faint bitter smile. Once a teacher, always a father. He seemed to be talking to himself, and also to Lily. Lily didn't make a sound, and the car became quiet again. The 2 months of summer vacation passed quickly. During these 2 months, Lily found Wang Xishan and asked him to help her apply for the repair fee for the Mission Cultural and Taoist Heritage Hall, which totaled nearly 5 million. The female ghost on the mountain also collected several golden spare goo insect kings for her in the past 2 months. Due to the yin gathering formation in the mountain, it was easy to collect goo insects with half the effort. Lily spent half a month. Previously, he suddenly wanted to make a 5 elements bagua array for the mountain. When used together with the yin gathering array, the effect was much better than before. It can be imagined that these golden goo insect kings will interact with each other once they wake up. If you swallow it, you will definitely turn into a purple gold insect king. If you are lucky, one of them may be able to develop spiritual intelligence. Everything went very smoothly, but the only thing that didn't go smoothly was that Yesuanzi and Long Xianfang were missing. After the summer vacation, Yesuanzi gave his family a sum of money, saying that he was going to go on a trip, but he has yet to be seen. In the first 2 days of school, Lily pinched a paper crane and stared at the movements of the Ye family, but Yesuanzi did not. She has never come back. Such a dangerous person is hiding in the dark, but there is no news about her. It is really uneasy. In the plot, Long Lily's death is 2.5 years later. Time passed day by day, and the Mission Cultural Heritage Museum began to break ground on the calculated auspicious day. Everything seemed to go very smoothly. Half a year later, several golden goo insects woke up, and after devouring each other again, they entered the dormant period again. 2 years have passed. In 2 years, the construction of Mission Cultural Heritage Hall has become very famous in the entire capital, and it will take at most 1 or 2 months before the Mission Taoist Hall will be completed. At this time, Lily has also graduated from her senior year. Stage. It took her a few days to submit her graduation thesis. When nothing happened, Shang Yunyun called her and said he wanted to celebrate her graduation. In the past 2 years, Lily and Shang Yunyun had developed some friendships. She is both a teacher and a friend. Although Shang Yunyun has an arrogant personality, she is very protective of the people she likes. Although her personality has a bad side, once she treats her sincerely, she wants to be with him heartily. Hello, Lily heard that she had invited him and invited a bunch of friends to prepare for a party. Thinking about it, he has been either practicing Taoism or working on the construction of Mission Taoist Hall all day long. It is rare to see him all year round. Relaxing for a while, now that Shang Yunyun and others had made arrangements for her, there was nothing to do anyway, so Lily agreed. Before she could catch a taxi and go to the bar that Shang Yunyun had booked for herself, Lily's phone suddenly rang. Except for the button to answer the call, there was no caller ID on the phone. Lily picked up the phone and Wenjing spoke on the phone. Screamed. Lily, there are hundreds of ghosts. Before she could finish her words, the phone was suddenly disconnected and a busy signal came from the phone. The smile on Lily's face suddenly darkened. Wenjing was the mother and son of the Juyin ghost that she had adopted at the beginning. After raising her for a few years, she suddenly developed feelings for her. The female ghost did not want to be reincarnated, so she stayed with her and was raised by the gathering yin array. Now she has almost created an entity. Judging from her current strength, ordinary Taoist ghosts cannot harm her. The strength of the female ghost is now no less than that of a ghost general. If she keeps it for another half a year, she will be called a ghost. It is not an exaggeration to say that the strength of the Ghost King was so flustered just now. Lily's heart sank, and a bad premonition came into her heart. Wenjing had not made a master-servant agreement with her. Lily was about to first when she went back to the mountains to take a look, her cell phone rang again. This time it was He King Han calling. His voice was a little low and serious. Where are you? Something happened to the He family. I need you to do me a favor. Less than 5 minutes after giving his address, He King Han rushed over. His usually expressionless face now looked very stern. Something happened to my grandfather. The He family invited 2 warlocks, but they were unable to do anything. Can you help me go take a look? To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly votes. Your support is my biggest motivation. P.S. 4th update. This story will probably end tomorrow. The 4th update on the 12th, Jwinok, Dear He Shivi's update. The 4th update on the 13th, ZXYY, Dear He Shivi will update. Today's 4th update, ZXYY, Dear Heshibai, more updates. Mom Beauties. Canon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan ERWR. Chapter 423. The He family is the real power holder in the army. The Taoist priests they can hire are not ordinary people. The warlocks who can be supported by the He family are all with real talents and knowledge. At this time, the warlocks invited by the He family are all at her wits' end. Lily was suspicious, but she responded. Logically speaking, the He family, which is a few steps away, should be a yang-filled place in the capital. Although Lily has never been here before, she can see that the furnishings and decorations of the He family are based on the Feng Shui theory of the homes of future generations. It is arranged in a safe and favorable direction. Logically speaking, it is not easy to attract little ghosts, but at this moment, the He family villa seems to be trapped in a layer of yin qi. Such powerful yin qi is rare in places like the capital. Lily's instinctive feeling there was something wrong, and the old man of the He family unexpectedly did not have any evil spirits. He just had evil yin entering his body, and he didn't know what unclean things he had collided with. In addition, his yang energy was declining as he got older. So it was just that the 3 souls and 7 souls left the body at this time, causing him to become drowsy. Many Taoist priests may not be able to see anything in such a situation, and naturally cannot find a way to deal with it. However, for Lily, this is not a serious matter, it is just a matter of setting up a formation, but the mana will be higher than normal. She needed to use more spells. She simply used the soul attracting talisman to set up the formation, and then asked a group of sons of Mr. He and his son to stand outside the formation and shout the names of Mr. He and his son when they came back. This matter was considered over. Mr. He's 3 souls 7 po had just returned to his body, and he exhaled a long breath. Just as he opened his eyes, Lily's cell phone rang again. This time it was also a call without caller ID. After ringing twice, it suddenly picked up automatically. Dragon Lily. Dragon Lily, it's time to go. Dragon Lily, it's time to go. Through the phone, the cold air was still unstoppable. Lily's eyes flashed. This was her in the past 2 years. I have been practicing authentic Taoist spells, and I have been assisted by the star body training skills, so I have a deep foundation. If it had been the 2 warlocks next to her, her soul would have been shouted out of her body by now. She listened to the increasingly urgent shouts on the phone, and after a while she calmly asked, "Where are we going?" The sound on the phone suddenly stopped, and after a while, the phone was suddenly hung up. Lily laughed, put her phone away, and asked He King Han, "Do you have pure spring water at home?" She was about to deploy the water mirror technique to see who it was that wanted to summon her soul just now. He King Han nodded slightly. The He family's status was extraordinary. Mr. He loved to drink tea as he got older, so someone at home sent clean spring water from the mountains to He's house every day. At this moment, everyone brought the spring water over. Lily was about to set up a magic circle. The 2 warlocks next to him were surprised. They wanted to help but were afraid to intervene. They had never heard of Lily's move to summon the soul of Mr. He just now. They had never seen it before. At this moment, they were all staring at Lily with fear and admiration. It wasn't until Lily cast the water mirror technique that she threw the phone in her hand above the basin. He began to chant a spell in his mouth. Strangely enough, the mobile phone followed her spell and floated lightly on the basin, but did not fall down. The people of the He family were so excited that they did not dare to breathe until a trace of yin energy leaked out of the mobile phone, and smoothly with this trace of yin qi, a figure of a woman in ancient costume wearing white longevity clothes quickly appeared in the basin with a long tongue sticking out and blood pouring out of her eyes and nostrils. She turned her head and grinned. The white teeth were exposed. This scene frightened the people of the He family and almost screamed. Although the people of the He family knew that there would be such a thing after raising a warlock, this was the first time they actually saw it with their own eyes. The face of the woman just now was beautiful, but her pale face and bloody eyes and nostrils were really scary. It was better not to smile, but when she smiled, the scene was even scarier than the worst nightmare. "Is she the one who called you just now?" He King Han looked at Lily's hands, and the mobile phone that was floating above the basin was taken back into her palm. She couldn't help but ask. Lily nodded. The one in the basin, the female ghost with the long tongue, disappeared within a short time, and the lingering yin energy on the phone also disappeared without a trace. It's a pity that the time she screamed was shorter, otherwise we could have found out where she was. It's just as good as the location. Everyone was a little shocked when they heard this. They just saw that the yin energy left by the female ghost in the water mirror seemed to be real. She was probably an old ghost. However, Lily looked like she wanted to go and deal with her alone. The 2 of them, the warlocks, were all speechless after hearing this, and subconsciously clenched the money sword in their hands, as if they were both a little admired and a little afraid of Lily. While talking, the mobile phone in Lily's hand rang again. When the expressions of the people in the He family changed drastically, Lily looked at the message and clicked on it. Her expression changed. The Mission Taoist temple culture was about to be completed. In the inheritance, a man who looked to be a construction worker who had been penetrated on all sides was hung upside down on a bamboo pole covered in blood. His intestines were pierced and blood was flowing all over his body. His eyes were staring out. He looked unusual. Infiltrate people. At this time, the phone rang again, with Wang Xishan's name flashing on it. As soon as Lily answered the phone, Wang Xishan's anxious voice rang, "Long Lily, something happened, someone died at your cultural heritage place." At this moment, a reporter got the news and rushed over there, and my dad also asked me to go quickly. I really said, "Forget it, I will tell you later, where you are, hurry up first." After Wang Xishan finished speaking, he hung up the phone quickly as if he was extremely anxious. The He family's phone also rang at the other end. After He King Han's father answered the phone, he came back with a helpless expression. Many old men in Beijing are in the same situation. "Little Master Long, why don't you all follow us?" No matter how stupid Lily was at this time, she knew that someone was coming for her, but she didn't know who she had offended, and asked the other party to use such a method to force herself. Lily endured the pain in her heart and nodded. During the whole night, she following the people of the He family, they visited almost all the powerful houses in Beijing. These old men generally had the same symptom, that is, they seemed to be hit by something extremely cold, and finally their souls left the body. Lily spent a night to set up. It took several soul summoning arrays to summon all the souls of these old men back. When it was getting dark, Wang Xishan called again and said that the situation there was very critical and the families of the deceased had started to make a fuss. No matter how pure Lily's magic power was, it was inevitable that her face would show a bit of fatigue after such a torment. He King Han, who had been driving to escort her all night, suddenly reached out and rubbed her head, with a slight smile on his face. "Don't worry, you go back and rest for a while. I'll go to the Mission Taoist temple for you, temporarily. There shouldn't be any problem if you keep it down for a day or two. It won't happen in a day or two. If I'm not wrong, I'm afraid there should be results by today at the latest." Lily sneered twice. In one night, almost all the most powerful bosses in Beijing appeared together. A problem, and it was a method that consumed her mana. It was calculated that it would take at least 3 to 5 days for a Taoist priest to fully recover after his mana was emptied. And such a problem occurred last night. The people behind the scenes must be planning to target it. No matter who is behind it, since he dares to prevent her from completing her mission and even kills a person for it, Lily wants him to die. He King Han sent her back to her residence. Before Lily could say thank you to He King Han, she saw him turning around and driving away again. He was such a silent weirdo. When he returned to his residence, Lily took a bath. Although he was tired after a long day, throughout the night, in fact, because of the peculiarities of the Tao Te Ching of the Tiandi sect, she actually used up most of her magic power at this time, but it did not completely make her unable to hold on. She performed the star training technique several times in a row, which caused her to the spiritual energy of heaven and earth entered the body, while running the Tao Te Ching. In this way, the Taoist magic was even more effective. In less than 3 hours, the mana consumed last night was fully restored. Not to mention, he also looks much more energetic than before. Since the person hiding behind was coming for her, Lily naturally had to prepare early. Taking advantage of the abundant potential in her body, she began to draw the talisman. In order to make the talisman more powerful, she even used her own. The blood was mixed with cinnabar and ground together. At this time, she was no longer the same person she was when she first entered the mission a few years ago. She almost succeeded every time she drew the talisman. She had already drawn some powerful Lily spells. Once she felt after she was tired, she did the star training and the Tao Te Ching again. In this way, she replenished her energy while drawing the talismans. Soon she drew dozens of talismans. Only then did Lily replenish the mana in her body, and used these talismans. The paper was folded and placed on his body, and now the sky was gradually getting dark. The phone that had been quiet all day rang again after it was getting dark. There was no caller ID on it either. After a while, the phone automatically picked up and the caller with the long tongue from last night even popped up. The female ghost's face looked sinister and terrifying, and she kept shouting, "Long Lily, it's time to go, Long Lily should go." Knowing that this method was useless, the female ghost shouted a few words, the body disappeared from the phone screen. After a while, the screen flashed twice, and suddenly turned into Wang Shishan's handsome face that had been deformed with fear. "Master, Long Lily, come and save me, help." The voice was extremely shrill and trembling, and it was obvious that he was scared out of his wits. The phone was filled with gloomy air, and within a moment the figure above it turned into Shang Yunyun. At this time, Shang Yunyun was crying with snot and tears, looking like he was stunned with fear, and was screaming at the top of his lungs. The picture in a flash, next to the Mission Taoist temple, there was another dead man with the same shape as yesterday, hanging on the signboard of the Mission Taoist Cultural Heritage Hall. Finally, a row of green characters appeared on the screen, "Come to the mountain behind Mission Taoism Cultural Heritage Hall." To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly votes. Your support is my biggest motivation. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 424. After such a torment, the phone couldn't bear the strong yin energy at all, and smoke immediately started to appear. After a while, it spontaneously ignited and turned into a puddle of ashes and fell to the ground. If she had known that the person behind this would not be able to wait long, Lily had already made preparations. She must go to this invitation from an unknown caller. Even though she knew that this trip was full of danger, Long Lily's wish was to let Mission Tantric Sect promote it and let everyone in the world know about Mission Shu. If the person behind her is allowed to cause such trouble and continue to kill people, she may fail in her mission. Rather than hide and seek with the person behind her, it is better to attack head-on. At first, Long Xianzhen did not leave any powerful Taoist magic weapon to Long Lily, but Lily herself was the most powerful magic weapon. The spells she knew far exceeded the spells spread in this era, so some ordinary money swords it was just a burden to her. She didn't bring those extraneous things with her. She just thought about it. When she saw the purple gold goo insect king sleeping beside her, she put the goo insect king in a bag, hung around her neck and placed it closest to her heart. Although she knew that the purple gold goo insect king was sleeping and did not wake up, Lily still instinctively took it with her. When she opened the door and came out, the capital city at this time was a bit eerily quiet. Lily was not going to call a taxi because the place was obviously very dangerous at this time and she could not disturb other people. Naturally, Lily hoped that she could solve it alone. She lucked out. With the magic power in his body, he jumped into the air lightly, and suddenly jumped to the roof of the garden house opposite, after looking in the direction of Mission Gymnasium. Then he ran in that direction, riding on the night wind. The closer she got to Mission, the more Lily could feel a burst of substantive yin qi. At this moment, the whole mission seemed to be covered in a layer of yin qi. This kind of yin qi seemed to be a team of yin qi coming from the underworld. It may not even be possible to create it. There are probably at least nearly 100 mature old ghosts inside, and there should already be several powerful ghosts at the level of ghost generals among them, so it is possible to create such yin qi. After flying close, Lily slowly fell down. Running all the way did not consume much of her mana. On the contrary, It made her whole body move. The yin qi blocking her face suddenly transformed into the door and slowly opened. Lily stepped in, and the yin qi suddenly closed in an instant, never to be seen again. The slightest gap. The cold and disgusting back mountain was now lit with green will-o'-the-wisps, and a group of people were wearing shrouds. Male, female, and old ghosts in costumes or ancient costumes were surrounding, all of them dead and pale, and when they saw Lily appearing, they all turned their heads and stared at her blankly. Lily did a rough count. I'm afraid there are hundreds of these old ghosts, and the scene in front of me is like entering the ABI hell. There were more than 3 times more than the nearly 100 she had imagined before. This situation is a bit troublesome. It's not that Lily can't control these old ghosts. People are favored by God. 1 year of training can be more powerful than many old ghosts who have practiced for 100 years, especially Long Lily's body. She was born to practice Taoism, and Lily studied the very powerful Tao Te Ching of the Heaven and Earth sect, which is the secret technique of the Tao section. The Tao Te Ching can also be said to be a legendary existence, and she practices physical training in conjunction with the stars. The power is even more powerful. Although there are many ghosts in front of her, they look very powerful, but Lily is not afraid. She just can't subdue so many ghosts at one time, but it is not a problem to escape unscathed. But the most difficult thing is that among these ghosts, she did not find the instigator who could cause trouble behind the scenes. The person behind the scenes never appeared, hiding in the dark and firing cold arrows. This is what she may be most worried about. This proves that the other party has not tried its best, and maybe there is a backup plan. Dragon Lily, come with us, Dragon Lily, come with us. Hundreds of ghosts began to shout in unison. For normal people, such a soul-calling sound, especially those who have experienced hundreds of super powerful old ghosts, the scream was enough to call out the soul of an old Taoist priest and fall into the ghost realm, but for Lily, she just snorted coldly and lazily shouted, "Shut up." As soon as she spoke, a faint golden light surged out from the center of the circle around her, causing the ghosts to sway suddenly, and their screams suddenly stopped. A group of old ghosts separated, and in the middle squatted 2 people, Shang Yunyun and Wang Shishan, who were almost scared out of their wits. When they saw Lily appearing, they relaxed and almost cried, "Master, Master, help me." When he spoke, his voice was intermittent, as if he was out of breath. These 2 people were already ashen-looking, with a look of death between their brows. They were surrounded by a group of extremely yin old ghosts. Even if they didn't do anything to them, the yin energy attacking their bodies still made them a little bit overwhelmed. The 2 of them were just mortals, not real practitioners. Naturally, at this moment, the 3 souls were about to escape from the body, and a blue-gray color appeared between their brows, with a layer of white frost forming on them. Lily strode over and took out 2 talisman papers from her arms. When they saw the talisman papers, a group of old ghosts were obviously frightened and instinctively moved away from Lily. Lily threw the talisman papers towards the 2 people. After putting their foreheads together and immobilizing their 3 souls and 7 souls, they cursed in a low voice, "What kind of person do you want to learn Taoism, and are you afraid of seeing ghosts like this?" As the saying goes, people are 30% afraid of ghosts, but ghosts are 10% afraid of people. If these 2 people were more courageous, they wouldn't be scared like this. If she had been half an hour late, she might not even have to collect the corpses for them. These 2 people will be chewed up to the point where not even 3 souls or 7 souls are left. Shang Yunyun was trembling all over, but now she was stabilized by the talisman paper. She moved her lips and shuddered, and her eyes regained some clarity. "I don't know how I came here. Seeing such a group of ghosts here scares my sister to death. Fortunately, Lily, you came quickly, otherwise I..." Her damn words made the ghosts who were far away from each other start to look fierce again. Lily slapped her in the face without thinking. Shang Yunyun was already frightened and confused. There were some things he should say and some things he should say. Shouldn't she say she doesn't know? Unless Lily can eliminate all the ghosts present today, if one escapes, and they will remember Shang Yunyun from now on, Shang Yunyun will never have peace in his life. Originally, if these two people were affected by the yin qi, their fortunes would be affected in the future, and their body lifespan would be somewhat worn out. If the two people were exposed to this yin qi in the future, it was not certain whether they would be able to die well. But this girl is good, she is still alive at this time. His mouth was open, as if he was afraid of dying too late. Shut up, Lily slapped her, but Shang Yunyun didn't dare to cry at this moment, and shut his mouth honestly. She was so frightened that tears were in his eyes, and he didn't dare to fall. A pair of hands tightly grasped the peace charm Lily had just given her, as if grasping a life-saving straw. An old ghost who was holding a long sword and dressed up as a Huaiden suddenly started singing an opera. The sound was so chilling that people's backs stood up. The long sword in his hand shot towards Lily. It's a small trick, the main messenger behind the scenes has not yet appeared. Lily has no intention of messing around with these ghosts. She is going to forcefully open the door to the underworld and let the yin soldiers come to pick up these old ghosts. Although there were so many ghosts here, there was no movement at all in the underworld, which surprised Lily very much. She also understood that there must be some reason, but at this moment, she could no longer care about so many things. Start chanting the mantra directly. Heaven and earth are infinite, the universe is orderly, yin and yang have their own ways. Just because this place is extremely yin, Lily already had some difficulty in using this move, and the strong yin qi prevented her from successfully performing this technique. So she had to bite her middle finger and began to draw a blood spell with her own blood to help herself open the door to the underworld. As soon as the bloody smell spread, a group of ghosts couldn't bear it and rushed over. The flesh and blood of cultivators are of great help to ghosts, especially those with pure potential like Lily. The blood essence is tempting to them. The increase was even greater. With the continuous behavior of these ghosts, Lily could only temporarily open the hand seals she had made. She was a little tired of coping for a while, especially when there were two people holding her back. In need of protection, and even more stretched, in a moment of anger, Lily took out the talisman she had prepared in her arms without thinking, and began to sprinkle it into the sky. God has the virtue of good life, and I will ask you one last time, give up or seek death. Most of the old ghosts who can survive to this age are sensible. If Lily had met an old ghost and asked this question in the past, the other party would have hesitated, but now this group of ghosts didn't know what stimulation they had. Lily was like this after asking, everyone showed a fierce attitude, changed their bodies and rushed towards her. The yin qi was much more solidified than before. Lily had no choice but to knock out the talisman paper in her hand. Each talisman paper could she beat 2 or 3 ghosts to pieces, but there were so many ghosts in front of her, at least hundreds of them. The talisman she drew was only about 50 pieces at most. She was extremely lucky to be able to clear out 200 ghosts. There are so many old ghosts. Could it be that the mastermind behind the scenes can't be seen today, and it's not possible that he can escape with these 2 oil bottles? She didn't know where the other party had come up with so many ghosts. Lily was surprised. At this moment, she was also angry. She was the one who would be unlucky if she couldn't fulfill Long Lily's wish. Moreover, with so many ghosts trapped, the mastermind behind the other party had not yet found out. Showing up, most likely the trap has been laid outside. If you try hard enough, you might still be able to survive. If you continue to be indecisive, everyone might die here. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly votes. Your support is my biggest motivation. P.S. Second update. Ask for votes. A Passerby's Life of Cultivating Immortals. Author, The Rabbit Eating Carrots, ISBN 321-1928. In front of her is the heroine of the original novel who has risen to prominence, followed by a time-traveling heroine who vows to defy the heavens. "Hey, that guy in the middle, please stop running around." Luo Yu, who was left last, decided to fight passers-by to the end. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 425. Thinking of this, Lily no longer held back, and scattered a large amount of the talisman in her hand. She quickly formed a seal with her hand, and used the spell with the largest range in the Tao Te Ching of the Heaven and Earth section. It is also a powerful spell that is very lethal to ghosts. In this way, at first, a lot of evil ghosts were eliminated. More than 300 old ghosts were killed in just a few moves. However, the same amount of mana in the body was consumed. In just a few moves, half of Lily's mana was gone. Although her face had not started to change at this moment, Lily felt a bit of pressure. After most of the ghosts were killed, and only a few hundred or so were left on the scene, suddenly the whole mountain seemed to be shaking. Just now, there was a yin qi like a copper wall outside, and a gap was blown out with a bang sound. Come, Lily took a few breaths and turned around to see. He Qinghan was leading about 30 Taoist priests wearing Chinese tunic suits and holding money swords or willow swords, standing at the foot of the mountain where she had just arrived. Outside, staring at her. When they saw the scene in the field, the Taoist priests' eyes flashed with panic. They obviously guessed that something was wrong with the scene inside, but they did not expect that the situation had become so bad. He Qinghan saw Lily's face looking a little pale. When he looked like a child, he quickly jogged towards Lily. Although he was full of yang energy, his face was still a little pale when he passed through a group of fierce ghosts, but his steps were very firm. After walking to Lily, he asked softly, "Does it feel uncomfortable?" He himself looked like a layer of cold sweat broke out on his forehead, but now he asked himself if he was feeling uncomfortable. Lily couldn't help but grin and took out the few remaining talismans from her arms. He found an amulet and put it on him. "Wear it." At this time, Lily didn't ask him why he came. Since He Qinghan had already come, it was naturally impossible to drive people back under such circumstances. A group of Taoist priests formed a group and cautiously came to Lily. The yin qi attacking their bodies around them obviously made them feel a little uncomfortable. Some of the older Taoist priests were okay because they were able to hold on due to their deeper skills. A few of the younger ones turned pale at the moment. He could hardly hold the copper coins and sword in his hand. Under such circumstances, Lily was able to fight with a group of evil ghosts for so long without showing any abnormality on her face. Many Taoist priests instinctively admired Lily and subconsciously regarded her as their backbone. An old Taoist priest said respectfully, "Master Long, what should we do now? What else can we do? Just kill all the ghosts here. The people behind the scenes will naturally come out," Lily said lightly, and there were fine beads of sweat on her forehead. If she was not mistaken, the person behind the scenes should have the idea of disappearing her magic power before appearing again. It seems that they are almost successful now, not to mention other than this method. Lily couldn't think of any other way. A fierce ghost suddenly stretched out its hand and grabbed the group of people. Several Taoist priests hurriedly raised their swords to block it. Lily suddenly formed a hand seal and said, "Broken." With a thunderous boom, the fierce ghost was split into light smoke and disappeared into nothingness. This scene made a group of Taoist priests show a look of shock and horror on their faces. Although they had guessed that Lily might have extraordinary abilities, seeing her kill a ghost so easily without any external objects still made a group of Taoist priests shocked. The Taoist priest's eyes widened. He breathed a long sigh of relief. In all honesty, it would not be difficult for the Taoist priests here to subdue these 2 or 3 ghosts. But there are so many fierce ghosts with strong yin energy. If the eldest young master of the He family hadn't personally invited them, they would have wanted to see who the owner of the so-called Mission Taoist cultural heritage is. When they saw the hundreds of ghosts walking at night, the group of people ran away long ago. They just had to bravely break through the yin qi. If they couldn't escape, who would stay here now? But Lily's super strength still gave everyone a glimmer of hope. Just as someone was about to speak, a group of evil ghosts rushed up again, spilling all the talismans in their hands. After killing dozens of evil ghosts again, Lily, there is not much mana left in the body, and there are about 100 old ghosts in the field. Dragging it on like this is not an option. Lily stretched out her hand to wipe the sweat from her forehead and said in a deep voice, "I'm going to force open the door to the underworld. You guys should block it for me for a while. Is there any problem?" At such a critical moment, without talisman Lily and not much mana in his body, everyone will be dead if it continues, so how can anyone dare to have any problems? But when he heard Lily was about to open the door to the underworld, an old Taoist priest trembled. Does Senior Long actually know how to open the door to the underworld? In the age of ending Dharma, many Taoist priests have learned to transcend ghosts and suppress ghosts, but they just don't know how to open the door to the underworld. Some old Taoist priests have never even seen the legendary Yin soldiers, and now they heard Lily has the ability to forcefully open the door to the underworld. The eyes of the group of people showed surprise and disbelief. At this time, no one doubted Lily. The strength she had shown just now made people believe that she has the ability to match her calm expression at the moment. Just 1 minute. After Lily said this, she bit her already scarred finger again, and blood dripped around her. She used the blood to draw a glyph that no one could understand, and then whispered quickly in her mouth. The sky and the earth are infinite, the universe is orderly, the yin and yang have their own ways, the gate of the underworld answers my order. Due to lack of mana, it took Lily a minute to recite the incantation. When my life was opened, before the word open could be uttered, suddenly there was a sway all around, and a sharp roar came. The sound wave spread into everyone's ears, and suddenly people felt sick and upset when they heard it. A group of Taoist priests subconsciously stretched out their hands to cover their ears. The spell that Lily was about to finish was stagnant. The last word was held in her mouth, and was forced back. The backlash of the spell made her chest suddenly feel like a heavy blow, causing severe pain. It spread from her heart and she couldn't bear it any longer. Her throat felt sweet and a mouthful of blood spurted out with a wow sound. It dripped all over her chest and soaked her clothes. The warm blood was refreshing. It got into her clothes and stuck tightly to her skin. Suddenly something seemed to squirm slightly on her chest, but Lily didn't notice it because her body fell back involuntarily until she fell into it in a generous embrace. "Are you okay?" He King Han's voice rang in her ears, and a hand gently smoothed her sweat-soaked hair. Lily opened her eyes and saw a hint of silence in He King Han's determination. She only glanced at her and then looked away. A skinny skeleton-like figure wearing a black cloak suddenly appeared. It seemed to be holding something in its hand, and it moved towards Lily as fast as lightning. "Came over." A skinny arm protruded from it and grabbed it straight towards Lily. She was seriously injured and couldn't escape at all. The backlash of the spell made her feel weak all over, but the skinny hand was coming menacingly. Is he going to die? Such a thought came to Lily's mind, and her mind even went blank at this moment. He King Han, who was holding her, got the strength from nowhere, and suddenly turned around in his arms. A skinny hand passed through his chest, and a soft sound of puff brought up a large flow of blood. He King Han Zhang's taciturn face suddenly turned a little pale. He raised his hand with some effort, and a hole the size of a fist was opened in his chest. At this time, blood was spilled all over Lily's head and face. He wanted to reach out. He went to wipe away the blood on Lily's face, but in the end his palm fell weakly on her face, as if covering her face. His hands instantly became cold, so cold that Lily shivered subconsciously. The coldness seemed to penetrate from the soul to the bones, with despair and fear, as well as endless killing, making people instinctively afraid. One day is a teacher, and in the end, a lifelong father. King Han's voice was as soft as if he was holding it in his mouth. As he spoke, some cold liquid dripped onto Lily's face and followed his lips. The fingers began to flow on her face, bringing with them bursts of bloody smell, which made Lily's heart feel cold. King Han. Lily struggled to move his fast and stiff hand away. King Han's silent and determined face appeared in front of Lily. A big hole appeared in his chest. At this moment, his face was lowered weakly and his eyes slowly closed. It had lost its luster, and black and red blood was still dripping from the corners of his mouth and nostrils, but the blood was cold. There was still a stiff smile hanging from the corners of his mouth, and his face was a bit frighteningly white. At this moment, he was no longer breathing. Through the big hole in his chest, a gust of wind blew onto his face with the smell of blood. Lily could see that the skinny thing was holding a red heart and chewing it in 3 or 2 bites. In the belly. The look in Lily's eyes quickly turned cold. The person behind the scenes had gone too far, and now she felt angry. Ah King Han, die, die. Shang Yunyun's scream seemed to be ringing from his ears, and it seemed to be coming from a far-away place, making Lily frown impatiently. Wang Xishan said in a panic, "What should we do now?" So people were asking her what to do, but in Lily's eyes, she only saw the taciturn face of King Han, who had already lost his warmth and looked a bit cold. "Yes, what should I do if I die?" a somewhat cold voice rang out. The person behind the scenes that Lily had been waiting for a long time finally showed her true appearance. Yesuanzi, who had not been seen for more than 2 years, was now wearing a white silk tang suit, walking through a place full of ghosts as if strolling in a garden. When a group of ghosts saw her, they all retreated subconsciously. It was now clear who was the mastermind behind the scenes. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly votes. Your support is my biggest motivation. Canon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 426. It's you. Lily was not surprised by this result, as if it was expected. She should have guessed it. Yesuanzi showed a smile on his face, with a hint of contempt in his arrogant eyebrows. "It's not me." She stretched out her legs and kicked King Han's body, which was hugging Lily with his back facing her, spinning around in a circle. After making Lily face her directly, Yesuanzi smiled, "It's okay for me to wait until this. It's been a day. The prestige of the mission sect is not something that a clown like you can play with. Who else can revitalize the mission sect except me?" The fight between the two factions ended up in such a brutal fight. The two were fighting to the death. Yesuanzi even attacked ordinary people just to force her to appear. Lily wanted to laugh, but it hurt her wounds and couldn't help it. He coughed again. "Is it worth it?" In the plot, Long Lily was killed by Yesuanzi. Unexpectedly, she did not want to get into the life and death situation with Yesuanzi at the beginning, so she had reserved her revenge before, and did not really push her into despair. But in the end, fate played a trick on people, and it ended up as it is now. Why isn't it worth it? There should only be one in mission, and the mission sect should not have any so-called tantric and explicit sections. Yesuanzi showed a condescending and cold expression again, making people wish they could have carved that layer of emotion on her face. The arrogance that was deep in his bones was torn off. "But what does a stupid mortal like you know? Even if I tell you too much, you don't understand. Factions have been fighting since ancient times, but when they fight like this, they do not hesitate to fight against each other, which is also the biggest culprit of the mission sect's decline. Some tantric and sutra sects were also separated, but in the end they became more and more irrelevant. This so-called time traveler and the so-called mission prophet were nothing more than that. You do have some abilities. If it were earlier, maybe I wouldn't mind accepting you as my disciple, but now you have killed so many evil ghosts, but it has made me, the 9 Nether Ghost King, very dissatisfied. Now I can only sacrifice it with your flesh and blood." Yasuan-Z has not been seen for 2 years, and she has become much more dangerous. It does not mean that her Taoism has become profound, but that the yin qi in her body is very strong, plus the so-called 9 Nether Ghost King in her mouth. Lily, I finally understood where the group of ghosts in front of me came from. Why is Yasuan-Z so full of yin energy again? She suddenly remembered that Yasuan-Z had threatened her once a few years ago. At that time, Yasuan-Z had a very powerful evil spirit. At that time, she was still a little confused. Now that she saw Yasuan-Z's appearance, she seeing the so-called Ghost King, Lily still didn't understand. She couldn't help but sigh. You actually signed a contract with Juya Ghost King. A group of Taoist priests and some monks stared at the two of them with puzzled expressions, not understanding what the 9 Nether Ghost King was. Just when they heard about the Ghost King, a group of Taoist priests instinctively showed a look of horror. They all tried to keep calm and kept swallowing their saliva, but their faces still showed a bit of fear in their eyes. She has some knowledge. Yasuan-Z glanced at Lily in surprise, as if she was surprised that she knew about this, but after a while she curled her lips. Forget it. You are going to die anyway. So what if you know? There are people who have raised little ghosts in mission since ancient times. It is not easy to get a blood contract Ghost King, not to mention that this 9 Nether Ghost King seems to have been around for nearly 1,000 years. You must not be from this era, right? Lily talked to Yasuan-Z, while desperately activating the nearly exhausted mana in his body. Yasuan-Z didn't know whether it was because he was a little surprised when she told him his innermost secret, or because he saw Lily's current state, but because the situation at this time was so important to him. She had an advantage, so she looked confident. After looking at Lily for a while, she started to laugh inexplicably. You have such good eyesight, I can't bear to kill you. The situation in the field has almost been controlled by Yasuan-Z, who naturally has a calm look on her face. At this moment, she knows that Lily may be delaying time, but she thinks that she is an expert and bold, so she does it without any scruples. He bent down and stared at Lily. I would like to teach you that I came from the Ming dynasty 600 years ago, and was the great disciple of the mission leader at that time. Yasuan-Z said this in front of everyone, which was surprising. In other words, if it were another place and another time, Shang Yunyuan, Wang Shishan, and a group of Taoist priests would probably think that she was crazy. But at this time, especially when Lily just said that Yasuan-Z might not be from this era, at this time in the weird atmosphere, no one dared to speak out. Although they couldn't believe it when they heard such unbelievable words, everyone instinctively felt in their hearts that what Yasuan-Z said might be true. 600 years ago, a Ghost King appeared out of nowhere and brought harm to the world. It was the duty of the Mission Taoist sect to collect the ghosts and destroy them. When my master and I followed the brothers in mission to fight against the Ghost King, we were accidentally injured by the Ghost King. The master was stunned on the spot. At the critical moment, I made a blood contract with the Ghost King and retained a trace of my soul. And this Ghost King also borrowed my Taoist Orthodox bloodline and became the 9 Nether Ghost King in one fell swoop. Yasuan-Z seemed to think of it. He said something like that, with a look of nostalgia on his face. I am an Orthodox disciple of Mission. Who do you think you are? A bunch of rabble. Mission Shu has declined to this day only because of incompetent people like you. And now they have disgraced their ancestors even more. A bunch of losers don't even know the 9 Nether Ghost King. Facing some brats, they can only sit on the ground and wait for death. It's really ridiculous. Yasuan-Z's words made a group of old Taoist priests turn blue and white, but a cold snort came from her nostrils, and she laughed again. It took only a few hundred years for mission technique to be used like this. I want to revitalize mission and get rid of you trash who ruined my reputation. Is there any problem? It's just a pity that you are alone. I didn't expect that you have some knowledge, but you have to go against me, mission. There shouldn't be any distinction between Tantra and Sutra, I will combine them into one. People like you use mission skills as a cover and don't use your blood to sacrifice my reputation in mission. How can I be worthy of the ancestors of mission? Mission's reputation was originally achieved by us seniors with one punch and one kick. Why should you ruin the reputation? Trash like you deserve to die. In the quiet night, the clicking sound of the nine nether ghost king chewing something kept coming, and Yasuanzi's voice also sounded, which could not help but make people's hair stand on end. At this moment, the mana in Lily's body still couldn't be lifted at all. She felt a little anxious and helpless. After the mana in her body was exhausted, her body was vaguely able to block the strong yin qi around her. Her whole body was full of energy. Almost freezing, she tried her best to activate her magic power, but for a while, the magic power was still running very slowly. Even if there was a small trickle of silk, it would not be possible at the moment. That tiny trace of magic power allowed her to block the darkness. It wasn't enough to invade her body, let alone let her cast a spell. You have a blood contract with the Ghost King. Now you are not using your original body, and you have traveled through time and space for 600 years. Your soul should be greatly damaged, right? Lily struggled to hold back the coldness and spoke, the mana slowly flowing through her body. It flowed, but he kept saying, logically speaking, your Ghost King cannot recover his magic power so quickly. Even if the Juya Ghost King is injured, he has experienced the baptism of time and space in this age of the end of the law. The strength should be less than the usual level. Before she finished speaking, Yasuanzi suddenly couldn't help laughing. You are right. If I had the magic power of my heyday, why would I bother to eliminate you? I'd rather crush you than trample you. It's easy to kill an ant. After saying this, Yasuanzi paused, and then she shook her sleeves again. A translucent red thing quickly grew in size after landing on the ground, revealing Wenjing's transparent figure that was so weak that it almost disappeared. Lily. Wenjing, who had already reached the level of a ghost general and was about to turn into a ghost king, suddenly fell to the point where she was about to lose her soul. Lily had used the yin gathering formation to raise her for several years. She was already on the verge of using her yin qi to form a real yin body, just like the nine nether ghost king in front of her, but now she could not even maintain her ghost body. It couldn't be saved, and it looked like it was about to float away in the wind. Thank you very much. You actually used some method to bring that resentful spirit to this point. My Ghost King absorbed all her strength and repaired its injuries, Yasuanzi instructed. The nine nether Ghost King turned around slowly. There was still a yin gathering formation pattern carved on the Ghost King's back. However, the improved yin gathering formation used on humans was naturally not as effective as the real yin gathering formation that Lily had originally deployed. The nine nether Ghost King originally eats the most yin energy in the world and becomes a king. The yin energy gathered by that small formation is not enough even for him to stuff it between his teeth. Only it can absorb the yin energy from Wenjing's body. Clean is useful to him. After all, Wenjing has been raised by Lily to the level of Ghost General over the years, and is only one step away from becoming the Ghost King. For the Juya Ghost King, it is a great supplement. Lily, Lily, save my son. Wenjing's body could no longer hold on anymore, but she still cut her belly, and a dark little ghost crawled out of it, and quickly headed towards Lily. Bien crawled over. Hey, there's actually a ghost that leaked out of the fish. Yasuanzi's face showed a look of surprise at this time. The Ghost King who was chewing on He King Han's heart suddenly gave a sharp shout and strode over here. But a loving smile suddenly appeared on Wenjing's face, which was about to disappear. She glanced at the devil, with a look of reluctance on her face. She glanced at Lily again and begged, Lily, Lily, I beg you, take care of my son. After she said these words, her whole spirit body rushed up and turned into a stream of pure yin energy, which slowly melted towards the devil. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly votes. Your support is my biggest motivation. P.S. Fourth update. Book title, Haofu. Introduction. People often say that those who survive a catastrophe will be blessed later. Shen Yan glanced at the splendid buildings everywhere in the capital, smiled and said with his sleeves, "What does it matter who wins? Anyway, the world is yours, and you are mine. Thanks to, Ong Tao Tao Mao, my dear Tu and Shivi for the reward. 4. Ching 20105, my dear Heshabai who gave the reward will be updated. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 427. Even though he was an extremely ferocious ghost, he felt like a mother and son at this moment. The ghost's face showed a humanized look of sluggishness. After a long while, he screamed sharply, opened his mouth wide and was about to pounce towards the Juya Ghost King. Lily drank subconsciously. Get behind me. The devil had been with Lily for 2 years in the past, but he had just been heartbroken. In order to keep himself safe, his mother was willing to sacrifice herself to input the weak power of the yin spirit into its body. Even a ghost had the feeling of licking a calf. Wenjing was pregnant with it at the beginning. She jumped off a building with her child, and after her death she felt guilty towards her son. She was the one who made her son die before he could even see the world. She just never said it, which does not mean that she is not sorry in her heart. It was she who let her son pass away. Without the chance to live an upright life, she knew that her soul would be shattered after doing that, but she didn't want her son to end up like her. Therefore, when facing Yesuanzi and the Juya Ghost King, she made an instinctive choice to sacrifice oneself. Lily understood the look in Wenjing's eyes before she disappeared, even if she didn't have the chance to say anything. Ghosts have their own ways, and sometimes humans are not as good as ghosts in comparison. At this moment, even though he was already in a very dangerous situation, Lily still ordered the Japanese to hide behind him. When Yasuanzi heard this, he couldn't help but laugh. You are a mud bodhisattva who is crossing the river. You can't save yourself, but you pretend to be a hero. Forget it, I'll kill you first, and then kill these losers to sacrifice the reputation of my mission. After she finished speaking, she read in her mouth when the spell came, the eyes of the 9 Nether Ghost King ignited with the fire of the Nether world. These 2 yin fires have great origins. People with poor concentration may be shaken even if they see them once. If they touch them, the yin fires can turn into nothingness. At this moment, a group of Taoist priests were trembling with fear. Everyone wanted to move back, but they couldn't find the strength to do so. What to do now, what to do, a group of people began to wonder. Some people wanted to escape, but they only felt that they were suppressed by the negative energy in the venue and couldn't get up. During the time she just spoke, Lily had already accumulated a small amount of mana. It was definitely impossible to kill the 9 Nether Ghost King. At most, she could force it back half a step to see if she could get a chance to escape. It's just that when Lily saw this Ghost King that had condensed into a physical form, her heart felt a little heavy instinctively. The Ghost King made a huo-huo sound in his mouth, and grabbed the fierce ghosts beside him and stuffed them into his mouth. A group of fierce ghosts did not dare to refute. Every time it absorbed a fierce ghost, its body became stronger and stronger. The will-o'-the-wisps shining in his eyes became brighter, and later on the 2 will-o'-the-wisps became bigger and bigger. The yin energy is overwhelming. It forced towards Lily, and now its extremely fast speed felt extremely slow when it appeared in front of Lily's eyes. Yasuanzi's contemptuous sneer hung at the corner of his mouth. The dark hand of Juya Ghost King appeared on Lily's chest and took it out. Lily struggled to lift the mana in her body, and just when she made a seal with her hand and chanted the incantation in her mouth, a bone-cold hand had already touched her clothes, but it hadn't really come close to her skin. but she had been killed by the yin qi. Just when Lily was a little anxious, suddenly a purple light bloomed in her chest. As if the Juyin Ghost King had suddenly encountered some natural nemesis, he screamed and quickly retracted his hand. Went back. A purple butterfly seemed to emerge from a cocoon, flapping its wings easily, and emerged from the clothes on Lily's chest. It flew straight towards the Juyin Ghost King. Just now, he looked like he was invincible in the world. Once the Ghost King was touched by this butterfly with purple light, he howled miserably. What's going on? Yesuanzi, who was originally full of confidence, was stunned when she saw such a turn of events. She asked in disbelief when she saw the purple crystal butterfly. It stopped on the top of Juyo Ghost King's head. Suddenly, the two tentacles above its head swayed, and a large amount of yin energy began to rush from Juyo Ghost King's body into the body of the butterfly. The Ghost King's screams could not be heard, but it was allowed to struggle no matter how hard it struggled. Those two clumsy hands began to beat their heads desperately, but they could not drive away the beautiful butterfly. Its yin qi began to be absorbed by the butterfly, and the nine nether Ghost King's mouth emitted bursts of sounds that resounded throughout the world. Howling miserably, at the same time, Yesuanzi suddenly fell to the ground, and a large mouthful of blood spurted out from his mouth. The cry of the nine nether Ghost King was so loud that it made people feel sweet in their throats, and Lily could hardly bear it. Her chest surged. She resisted the pain in her body, sat cross-legged and activated the magic power in her body, and then ordered to the people next to her. Keep the spiritual platform close and unite the soul. As soon as she finished speaking, Wang Xishan's weak voice came, Master, what is the spiritual platform? Normally, Bai Xiu and Bai Xiu had learned Taoism from Long Beihe for such a long time, but in the end, they couldn't even tell the difference between Lingtai and Lingtai. Beihe really had the urge to vomit blood at this moment, but she resisted it. At this moment, I had the urge to kick Wang Xishan and Wang Xishan to death, so I sternly ordered, cover your ears and don't think about anything. I just told you to cover your ears. What about the spiritual platform? Shang Yunyun's muttering voice also came. They have the peace charms that Lily just sent, so the situation at this moment is actually the best among the group of people. On the other hand, several Taoist priests, except for a few old Taoist priests whose faces were pale at this time but could still grit their teeth and endure, a group of younger Taoist priests were already crumbling, with faces as golden as paper and bleeding from the corners of their mouths. The shrill screams coming out of the Ghost King's mouth were full of murderous intent at the beginning, but by the end they were as angry as gossamer. The change before and after took less than half a quarter of an hour. The originally solid body of the nine nether Ghost King actually began to fall all the way down the realm. From the original realm of the nine nether Ghost King, he fell to the realm of the Ghost King. Later, his solid body was completely gone. It has begun to be unsustainable and looks like it is about to fall apart. The purple crystal butterfly was now firmly attached to the top of the Ghost King's head, and a large amount of yin energy was sucked into the body by it. However, the petite and beautiful body did not change its shape, but remained as beautiful as it was at the beginning. Taking advantage of this period of time, Lily began to sit cross-legged and meditate, trying to restore the magic power in her body. At first, the effect was modest. After she gained some strength, she started to get up and do the star training technique, and a large amount of spiritual energy was poured into her body. With all her limbs covered with bones, the mana in her body began to grow rapidly. The soft Taoist power nourished the wounds she had just suffered from the backlash of the spell. After completing a set of star training techniques, her mana had recovered to about half, and the other end the originally sturdy Juyo Ghost King now even had the cloak made of yin energy fall off, revealing his skeleton-like figure underneath. My Ghost King, my Ghost King. Yesuanzi almost went crazy looking at the scene in front of her. She didn't know how things suddenly became like this. A butterfly came out of Lily's body out of nowhere. He actually sucked away most of the yin qi from the 9 nether ghost king that she had contracted with her. Yesuanzi was the one who signed a blood contract with Juya Ghost King. She seemed to feel the pain of Juya Ghost King and deeply loved him. She didn't know where this butterfly came from, but it was like a maggot attached to the bone. The 9 nether Ghost King cannot get rid of it. Once it gets on the Ghost King's body, it begins to absorb yin qi, and it is also sucking away the foundation of the 9 nether Ghost King. How invincible is the 9 nether Ghost King? If it were in its heyday, even if the underworld's yin soldiers were dispatched, they would probably have to take a detour when seeing such an evil thing. Even if the 10 palaces of Yama were dispatched in person, it would be difficult to drive it away without using the underworld magic weapon. This is just a drive away. Forget it, how easy is it to eliminate it? Even at this moment when the Juya Ghost King's strength was suppressed and his strength was less than 80% of what it was at its peak, everyone should be helpless in the face of such a thing, but somehow, Lily actually had the ability to come up with something like this. Began to absorb the yin qi of the 9 nether Ghost King. This, what on earth is this? Yesuanzi almost screamed. The pain of losing yin qi was not only the scream of the Ghost King, she also felt unbearable pain all over her body, as if there were thousands of insects burrowed into her bones. The bite caused her extreme pain. At this time, Yesuanzi seemed to be undergoing the most brutal torture in the world, with beads of sweat pouring out from her whole body. In just a moment, her face turned pale and she fell to the ground. Live twitching. When Lily saw the shining purple butterfly, she couldn't help but reach out and touch her chest. The place where the sleeping purple gold goo worm originally lay had become flat now. She had already guessed in her mind that this butterfly, the purple butterfly, should be the goo king who swallowed the purple golden goo formed by the golden goo insects and broke out of the cocoon to become a butterfly. It's just that Lily didn't expect that this purple gold ghost king goo, which had been sleeping for a long time without waking up, would wake up at such a coincidental time. Insects raised with yin qi, and with the help of ghosts to cultivate the yin qi of the insects, the goo insects formed after devouring each other, are called ghost king goo in the southern region goo art. Lily accidentally gave birth to them. She had an idea and accidentally asked Wenjing to help her cultivate goo worms. She had never thought about relying on these goo worms to turn things around, but she didn't expect that at the critical moment, such a little thing would help her a lot. For Yesuanzi, everything is really not as good as God. After several golden ghost king goo were formed, they devoured each other, feeding on the resentment of the ghosts and nourishing them with the rich yin air. The yin gathering array set up by Lily could almost transform Wenjing from an ordinary ghost to the strength of a ghost king. Naturally, with those the goo insects raised by the yin temperature were also extraordinary. After devouring each other, they devoured each other again with the ghost king goo. Unexpectedly, the purple gold ghost king goo formed could not only devour the powerful ghosts, but also the 9 nether ghost king. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly votes. Your support is my biggest motivation. Canon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 428. Lily couldn't help but pursed her lips and laughed. She had a spiritual connection with this purple gold ghost king goo. It was fed with her essence and blood. It shouldn't have appeared in this world, but now it happened due to some strange combination of circumstances. It was still cultivated by Lily. After knowing that this 9 nether ghost king had been regarded as food by it, Lily did not panic and began to concentrate on restoring the magic power in her body. After the yin qi was absorbed by the purple gold ghost king goo, it began to gnaw at the bones of the Juya ghost king. The screams of the Juya ghost king became smaller and smaller. On the contrary, Yesuanzi's forehead became more and more sweaty. Duo, she had a blood contract with the Juya ghost king. At this moment, both parties shared the pain. It felt like something was gnawing into the bones. Yesuanzi's body curled up into a ball and fell to the ground, panting feebly. Such a turn of events surprised the Taoist priests, who just looked like ants waiting for death, and they all cautiously moved closer to Lily. Eat, eat, Wenjing, this is what you raised for me. The Nine Nether Ghost King absorbed your strength, but he never thought that one day, it would be retribution. It would eat you, what you raised. I still ate it, because the cycle of nature and retribution is not good. Lily sighed, and fished out the Japs hiding behind her. Tears were dripping from its dark little face at this moment, and its originally ugly face was actually showing. He looks a bit pitiful and cute. The originally tall Juyo Ghost King was quickly chewed to the bone. The butterfly seemed to be full, and its body became fatter. It flapped its wings and flew toward Lily. It was like he wanted to get into her body. It was just that it was a little heavy while flying. It took a long time to fly back. When it landed on the back of Lily's hand, a cold feeling penetrated her body. A butterfly-shaped purple birthmark appeared on the back of her hand, and the butterfly hid itself inside her. Inside the body. No, Yesuanzi's forehead was dripping with cold sweat, and he shouted unwillingly. At this moment, Lily's body's potential was slowly filling up, and she stood up. After the tossing in the middle of the night, the rooster was about to crow, but these damn ghosts were still there. Although these ghosts were driven by Yesuanzi, because he King Han died on the spot to protect herself today, Lily was not ready to let them go. She recited the mantra. Heaven and earth are infinite. The universe is orderly. The ground shook slightly, and an awe-inspiring aura mixed with a slight cold feeling rushed towards my face. Wait a minute, immortal, a loud voice sounded, and the door to the underworld that Lily had tried to open by force before, but was interrupted twice, finally opened slowly. A large amount of yin qi was blown out. The first figure, wearing a jade crown and whose face could not be seen clearly due to the gloomy air, sprang out quickly. A group of yin soldiers also arrived belatedly. The leader shouted and then made a gesture of bowing with his hands. God, please calm down. These old ghosts are the yin people who have been pursuing the underworld for 600 years. Please pray to God, please be merciful and allow your officials to extradite the remnants of the underworld back. It doesn't come when it should come, and what shouldn't come always comes when it shouldn't come, Lily sighed. His expression was uncertain, and he did not put down the magic formula in his hand. The figure hurriedly swung towards Yesuanzi, stretched out his hand and patted her twice, and the soul of a beautiful woman in ancient clothes was pulled out by him. Naijan, why don't you follow me back home? Yesuanzi's soul was bleak at this time. She had made a blood contract with the Nine Yin Ghost King. Once the Nine Yin Ghost King was removed by the purple gold Ghost King Gu, she was also greatly damaged. Logically speaking, the soul of a cultivator should be very stable, but at this moment, Yesuanzi looked like she was about to be blown away by the wind. The judge slapped her twice, and the yin qi was introduced into her body. Yesuanzi then seemed to react and knelt down on the ground. Yesuanzi has met the Lord. Yesuanzi, born at Yinshimaji in the second year of Yongle in the Ming dynasty, died in. The shadowy masked figure began to read out Yesuanzi's life. After a while, after reading Yesuanzi's deeds, the judge he cupped his hands and said, Exalted Immortal, this villain killed 2 innocent mortals. I will take her back to the underworld and hand her over to Lord Yama. What do you think, Immortal? Now that the underworld has intervened, it is somewhat impossible to kill all these old ghosts. As for Yesuanzi, if Lily takes action, it will cost her her life at most, so it will be easier for her to give her a happy life. Yesuanzi's situation was equivalent to breaking the law knowingly. He should have been imprisoned when he was brought back to the underworld. Sometimes the punishment from heaven is far more severe than human revenge. Lily snorted coldly and did not object, but stood up. Judge, I will give you a favor today, but you have to return the soul of my third disciple He King Han to me. He King Han died to save her, and the words he said before his death, once a teacher, Always a father. It seemed that they were still ringing in Lily's ears. He had said the same words before, but Lily at that time did not put these words into words. I kept the words in my heart, but I didn't expect that when I heard them again, I would be separated from the yin and yang. Now that I think about it, I feel a little sad and helpless. Lily was not prepared to owe anyone any favors. Based on her current abilities, as long as she continued to practice, if He King Han's soul was in her hands, one day she would be able to let He King Han survive like a normal person, although she might not really be able to. Going back to the beginning, at least the regret deep in her heart might be reduced by 2 points. She doesn't like people dying because of her, especially after an experience like Li Yangxiu's. The figure who was called out of the official position hesitated for a moment, but still smiled bitterly to dissipate the yin energy from his body, revealing the judge's true appearance. He held a pen in one hand and a book in the other, turning a few pages, but his forehead beads of sweat broke out. After a while, he glanced at Lily with a grimace. "Shangxian, there is no name He King Han in the underworld. Why is there no He King Han named? He is the eldest son of He, and they all know him." Hearing this, Lily snatched the Book of Life and Death from the underworld and turned it over twice. The judge dared to be angry but dared not say anything. As expected, Lily saw the surname of the He family written on it, but in the column for the descendants of the He family. It reads clearly, He's eldest son, He Qingleng, was born in 1982 at and died. As expected, there was no news about He King Han, and the eldest son of the He family changed from He King Han to He Qingleng. Where did He King Han go? Lily was stunned. The judge, who was already busy, snatched back the Book of Life and Death in the underworld and carefully turned it over twice. He breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that it was not damaged. He glanced at Lily's hand again, with a look of fear on his face. "Go up, immortal, may I ask the immortal, what is the moth that just appeared?" As soon as he finished speaking, the back of Lily's hand suddenly became itchy. Hearing the word moth, the purple butterfly seemed a little dissatisfied. Lily stretched out her hand and stroked it twice. The dissatisfaction was suppressed again, but the sudden appearance of evil and yin energy made the judge follow suit. He trembled, if it weren't for the fact that he was a canonized righteous God. Since he has a divine body to protect his body, I am afraid that he will also suffer a lot from those 2 times when the butterfly flapped its wings. That butterfly was so terrifying that the majestic Nine-Nether Ghost King was finally swallowed alive by it. There is such a natural enemy in the underworld. I'm afraid no one in the underworld will be able to settle down in the future, and even the Lord of Hell may not be able to sit still. The judge was naturally worried about the weird butterfly. Now he tentatively opened his mouth to find out the origin of the butterfly. If possible, he hoped that Lily could destroy it. Otherwise, if there is such a thing, the soul in the underworld, maybe they are all in danger. "Of course you are my pet, why don't you leave?" Only then did Lily really reveal the bad side of her mood. "You want to wait until I treat you to some incense sticks and paper money." The people in Hades heard this. Everyone trembled, and the judge gave a wry smile. Now the butterfly is in Lily's hand. This thing is the natural enemy of the underworld. Now Lily is unwilling to destroy it. He can only go back and report to the Lord of Hell first, and then go to heaven to ask for a solution. Naturally, it is not appropriate to talk to Lily at this time. Break up the relationship, so as not to suffer a loss later. The people from the underworld disappeared as quickly as they came. A group of old ghosts who came straight up were escorted and pulled into the open door of the underworld. The judge walked at the end, saluted Lily, and escorted Yesuanzi without looking back. "Leave." The door that had just been opened was quickly closed, and the sound of roosters' crows suddenly came from the horizon. The yin qi around them slowly dispersed as a group of ghosts were taken into custody. The sun that appeared on the horizon quickly broke through the clouds, and the early morning sunlight fell down. Everyone felt like they were surviving a disaster. A group of Taoist priests collapsed on the ground in disbelief. Shang Yunyun and others couldn't help but glance at each other. And Wang Xishan cried. Lily grabbed the devil and put it into the soul-rearing bag. She turned back to see where King Han's body was, only to find that it was completely empty, with not a single figure left. She blinked and saw that there was indeed nothing in that place, as if it had never been there. When nothing appeared, she touched her face again. The real feeling of the blood dripping on her face from King Han was still there, but now there was nothing, except Lily's own sweat, which was on her face. Clean and tidy. She was still thinking about how to explain to the He family. Unexpectedly, all the corpses disappeared at this moment. When Lily returned to the city, a group of Taoist priests simply treated her as an ancestor. They all called her Grandmaster, as if they were asking for help. In the posture of becoming her sect, yesterday, He walked through the night and faced those fierce ghosts, and Lily became famous in one battle. When facing the He family, Lily felt somewhat guilty. Unexpectedly, no one in the He family remembered King Han anymore, as if he had never appeared. Although the Mission Taoist Cultural Heritage Museum on the mountain has experienced twists and turns, it has been opened due to the efforts of the He family and others to protect it. A group of people who could have established a sect and become Grand Masters at this time are honestly they really surrendered to Lily's sect, hoping that Lily would accept them as disciples. Wang Xishan, who was promoted to senior brother, got married to Shang Yunyun half a year later. The two of them were following Lily with all their hearts. They were respectful to Lily and did not dare to resist at all. On that day, the two of them were tricked. Qi must be kept by Lily's side, otherwise their lives and health in this life will be damaged. In addition, that day they saw Lily showing off her magical powers, seeing powerful ghosts, and seeing miraculous spells. They were really interested in Mission Taoism. He became interested, so he put aside his family wealth and followed Lily to manage the Mission Taoism Cultural Heritage Museum for her. On the contrary, his life was a little more fulfilling than before. Once the Mission Taoism Cultural Heritage Museum was opened, its popularity was very prosperous, especially with the support of some dignitaries in Beijing. Its reputation began to become more and more famous. On that day, Ye Xuanzi was going to use Bai Fa to make many big shots in Beijing. The evil thing has accumulated a lot of popularity for Lily. Once her career started, all departments naturally supported her. In front of the bustling mountain gate, a voice shouted curses that day. But just after scolding him for a long time, he was dragged away again. When Lily was teasing the ghost left behind by Wenjing, who had transformed into a physical body with Yin Qi and reached the realm of Ghost King, Shang Yunyun came in with angrily. Master, that crazy woman Long Xianfang outside is here again, scolding you for seeking fame and reputation, and scolding you for not being worthy of being the master of mission. Master is not worthy. Is that what she looks like? I'm damn, I won't urinate and take a look. Mirror, master, you won't let me take care of her, otherwise I'll ask my dad to find someone to put her in a mental hospital. Long Xianfang lost his apprentice, and no one in Mission now knows the name of Xianzong. The world only knows that the owner of the Mission Taoist Cultural Heritage Museum is Long Lily, who has been certified by the state. Whether it is among the powerful or among a group of Taoist priests, and everyone only recognizes Lily as the main one, Long Xianfang is just a clown who cannot make waves. She has been fighting for the title of who is more powerful in Tantra and Sutra all her life. By this time it was obviously meaningless. It's just that she is still a little unwilling. She has been fighting for her whole life over the dispute between Tantra and Sutra. The envoy even killed Long Xianzhen at the beginning, but in the current ending, she still lost. How could she calm down? So every now and then he went to the Mission Taoist Cultural Heritage Museum to cause trouble. Lily smiled slightly. She didn't want Long Xianfang to die. There were many ways to make a person suffer, and death was not the only one. Long Xianfang was a cunning person who originally planned to commit Long Lily's death. Now for her, Mission Xianzong did not flourish in her hands, but became famous in the hands of Long Lily, whom she had always looked down on. She must be very unwilling to do so. She will live in pain and discomfort all her life, especially since Lily is becoming more and more famous now. She will feel more uncomfortable. Sometimes being alive is torture. When Shang Yunyun saw Lily smiling, he couldn't help but feel a little creepy. On that day, Lily fought against all the ghosts, opened the door to the underworld, and had the judge call her an immortal. Everyone could still remember the scene. She used to think that Long Lily was a liar, but she didn't expect that she was wrong, and she almost lost her. She found a master who was truly capable, but this master changed more and more later on. Although they were almost the same age, Shang Yunyun did not dare to show any disobedience in front of her. Let her be, as long as she doesn't harass others, she can scold her as much as she likes. The more Long Xianfang scolded, she didn't lose half of it. On the contrary, she felt heartbroken. Seeing Long Xianzhen today under her leadership, Mission has become more prosperous. She will spend her days like years, and Lily doesn't want to care about her. Listen to the master. Shang Yunyun answered obediently. Lily was stunned. When she heard the word master, she somehow thought of He King Han, who had been dead for several years, and the blood he shed that day. The words he said, and the cold hand that fell on her face, as if the touch still stayed on that day. Unfortunately, no one in this world remembers him. Lily couldn't help but ask, Master? Are you from Wang Shishan, aristocratic family? Why do you still stay in the mountains? The Wang family has become prosperous in the past 2 years with her status. Wang Shishan's father has been promoted day by day, and now he is more than just a mayor. Shang Yunyun's father has also become one of the top 10 members of the parliament. Even if these two people are Yin Qi, however, it is only a trivial matter for Lily to get rid of the Yin Qi now. However, the two powerful children are still hanging on by her side. They would rather give up their glory and wealth. These two people are not very intelligent and have clear destiny. He is destined to be blessed here, but he is willing to come to Mission to be a disciple. Once a teacher, always a father. Shang Yunyun answered with a smile, but Lily almost felt her heart tingle when she heard it. You really don't remember He King Han? A person who clearly existed has disappeared strangely. Lily has never encountered such a situation since she has done many missions. At this moment, she couldn't help but ask another question. Shang Yunyun asked curiously, What He King Han? Master, what's wrong with you? I've been talking about He King Han all these years. There is only one He Qing Leng in the He family. There are no other children of the Qing generation in this generation. Master, have you remembered it wrong? Maybe Lily didn't want to talk anymore, and Shang Yunyun saw the opportunity and retreated. Lily looked at the quiet and obedient Japanese in her arms, her eyes slightly lost in thought. She asked the devil if he wanted to be reincarnated, but maybe the devil didn't want to forget his mother Wenjing, and finally chose to live in the world with yin energy transformed into a body, maybe just to commemorate the fierce ghost in red. In this life, Lily will fulfill Long Lily's wish to promote Mission Shu. The Mission Taoist Cultural Heritage Museum is now well known to the world, and her reputation is also very high among Taoist priests. Today, when Taoism has long declined, Bei has practiced the Tao Te Ching of the Heaven and Earth sect for many lives. She has summarized a few Taoisms that are enough for a group of Taoist priests to study. Her reputation is extremely high among a group of Taoist priests. In this life, she lived to the 6th in the end, in the hearts of a group of Taoist priests. Although she died, the things and spirit left behind will last forever. He King Han, who disappeared in the mission world, appeared in the starry sky. He had a look of realization on his face, and finally walked towards Li Yangzi in silence. I see, that's it. He sighed several times in succession, with a look of regret and nostalgia on his face. From the time he was born, he always felt that he had a lingering sense of responsibility. He had a calm and generous personality. Everyone in the He family praised him for his stability and magnanimity, and that he would be a great talent in the future. However, He King Han always felt that he was missing something, until he saw when it comes to Dragon Lily. He instinctively had a certain fondness for her, as if it was an obligation. He became a disciple of Long Lily. It's just that the little master, who was still a little immature at the beginning, gradually began to change. He looked at her like she emerged from a cocoon and became a butterfly. From the three-legged cat kung fu at the beginning, she became more and more like a general. He King Han, when he realized that he had a crush on her that went beyond master and apprentice, he found that the fact that he had accepted her as his master in the first place was holding him back. The thought of protecting him became stronger and stronger. He even thought he had seen Lily somewhere, but he couldn't remember it. A teacher for one day. A father for life. He told himself these words and firmly guarded the idea. He King Han actually didn't think that much when he died to save Lily. He didn't even have time to think that much. His last memory was only fixed on her somewhat panicked face. In fact, she has rarely shown such an expression since she changed. She likes to be clean and has a certain slight cleanliness. When his blood dripped on her face, He King Han actually wanted to replace it. She wiped it away, but regrettably, he no longer had the strength to lift his hand. This is a small regret for him. Now that he is back in the starry sky, fragments of the past are flashing before his eyes like a revolving lantern. Being able to return to this place, he understands many things and naturally sees many things. This is not the first time for him. When I saw Lily, it was just that the girl named Lily at that time was far from the calm and majestic person she is now. The first time he saw Lily, he was actually sitting in a car. He saw the girl walking barefoot on the street like a piece of scenery, and he has been following her for half his life. Looking back now, He King Han's silent and determined face slowly showed a slight smile. He didn't know what the other 7 emotions were like, but he could have memories and help her once. He King Han already felt very satisfied. It's time to come back. Li Yangzi's voice sounded faintly, and his figure began to appear in the starry sky. His appearance exerted an invisible attraction on He King Han. He King Han did not refuse. He vaguely knew the person in front of him. Regarding the relationship with Lily, since the protection from the beginning was not for repayment, why bother to resist now? If he could continue his mission by returning to his true form, he would be happy to do so. He King Han smiled slightly. He understood what he always felt was incomplete. He walked towards Li Yangzi. He King Han's figure became fainter and fainter, and finally turned into a halo and disappeared into Li Yangzi's body. One of the 7 emotions that was originally separated to represent commitment and protection, now returned to Li Yangzi's body. A faint smile appeared on the corner of Li Yangzi's mouth, but it soon faded away, withdrawing his passion and ambition. Now Zhongai has been recovered again, leaving only the last 4 emotions. It is not far from when he is complete. He King Han is missing, but Li Yangzi's emotions are fuller. In the past, in Lily's mind, he was just a crystal that was not stained by dust. That was just because his 7 emotions were stripped away, and he lost his ambition, desire, power, and strength. In pursuit of the Supreme, he is just a heartless person who is not interested in anything, but now as Chi Ching slowly returns, he has begun to have what he wants. Quietness returned to the starry sky, as if nothing had appeared before. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly votes. Your support is my biggest motivation. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan Erwr. Chapter 429. Lily, who had returned from her mission, soon appeared in the starry sky. When she saw Li Yangzi with his hands tied behind his back, she was stunned for a moment. Li Yangzi, who had his back to her, seemed to have changed. His back looked different from before. She felt alienated and indifferent, but at this moment he seemed to give her a feeling of familiarity and peace of mind. As soon as Lily came back, Li Yangzi had already turned around. The mission is accomplished. His expression was still cold, but his eyes seemed to be a little more determined than before. He walked towards Lily and gently took her into his arms. "Are you tired?" Two simple words made Lily burst into tears. She wanted to say that she was a little tired. This time, the death of He Qinghan was still like a mountain pressing on her heart. Lily had seen many dead people, but dying for her was such a thing. It was still a bit unbearable for her, but she finally shook her head and reached out to gently wrap her arms around Li Yangzi's waist. I wonder if it was because of this mission. When Lily saw Li Yangzi, she felt as if she had found a backbone, and her whole body relaxed. After coming down, she leaned in Li Yangzi's arms and calmed down for a long time. She put her face against Li Yangzi's chest and then suddenly said, "A person appeared during this mission. He helped me, but why did no one remember him in the end? He Qinghan seems to have never appeared in the mission world. No one remembers his existence, and even the people in the He family don't know about him. This situation is not normal, and it almost makes Lily think that he has been there all the time. This person has never appeared before, but there is no doubt that Long Lily in the plot has had 3 apprentices. The characters in the plot don't know He Qinghan, but he must know Li Yangzi." Lily suddenly reached out and hugged Li Yangzi tighter, and raised her head. She was not a fool. She had already noticed something was wrong in her heart. She had been shocked and uncomfortable when He Qinghan died, but when she calmed down, she thought about Lily more and more. The weirder it felt, now that she was back in the starry sky, Lily immediately asked the question in her mind. Although she thought what happened this time was a bit weird, Lily was used to asking Li Yangzi directly when she had something to say. As soon as she finished speaking, Li Yangzi showed a faint smile on the corner of his mouth, pulled Lily, and walked towards the soft couch in the starry sky. Past. After entering 2 missions, Li Yangzi seemed to be different from before. He had never cared about whether there was nothingness in the starry sky before, but this time when Lily came back, there was not only a soft couch in the starry sky, but also a small table. As if it was slowly gaining popularity, she obeyed, pulled over by Li Yangzi. After sitting next to him, Li Yangzi lowered his head and kissed her forehead. He exists. It's just that after he disappears, others don't remember him because it is one of his 7 emotions, which represents loyalty, perseverance, and protection in his character. Because of the influence of Li Yangzi, he when kicking saw Lily, she would instinctively want to protect her and be loyal to her, so she died for her in the end. That was the guardianship that split off from Li Yangzi. Once the mission is completed and he protects Lily, he will naturally return to Li Yangzi's body. In fact, this mission does not require others to forget He Qinghan's existence. But that was what Li Yangzi did intentionally. He wanted to make Lily uncontrollably ask questions. He wanted to let Lily know what one of his 7 emotions had done for Lily. Although the original guardian had already owned him. He has an independent personality, but now that he has taken it back, he naturally protects the good things he has done for Lily, and he should be the one to receive the benefits now. It's really not Li Yangzi's style to leave no name for doing good deeds. If it's like Ye Changjin's emotions that would scare Lily, Li Yangzi will naturally not mention them, but for someone like Xu Sheng who has done good deeds, he must be praised by Lily. Lily's body and heart have now initially accepted his existence, and she no longer treats him as a superior god like she used to. Now, when she gets close to her again, although she is still a little uncomfortable, she doesn't feel uncomfortable. She wasn't as resistant as before, but although she was more compliant and acquiesced to the situation, she didn't feel any deep throbbing in her heart. Li Yangzi wanted to leave his mark on her heart, not just on her body. Why don't others remember him? Lily couldn't help but ask. Li Yangzi had been waiting for this sentence for a long time. Why bother asking about the past? When Li Yangzi asked this, he lowered his head and stared. Looking at Lily, his previously cold face now seemed a little softer because of the drooped corners of his eyes. He looked indifferent on the surface, but in fact, at this time, he was already hoping that Lily would hurry up and ask until Lily really when asked again. Li Yangzi sighed silently, took her into his arms, and frowned slightly. It's my duty to help you, so why should others remember it? I don't need other people's likes. It's too early for me to tell you some things now. When you are really ready one day, I won't hide it from you. He seemed to have said something, but Lily didn't seem to understand anything. However, Lily vaguely guessed that the He King Han Li Yangzi said should be related to him. Could it be that He King Han was actually hidden in the mission to protect himself? Character of Li Yangzi looked at her expression, which was a little tangled at first, but finally seemed to understand something, and then she smiled slightly. What he wanted was such a result. He neither lied nor let her guess and tell her. The things were far less rich than what she had imagined. After finishing the sentence, Li Yangzi's eyes moved. When he raised his head, Lily's information appeared in the starry sky. Gender, female, variable. Name, Lily. Age, 21. Intelligence, 82, out of 100. Appearance, 87, out of 100. Physical strength, 75, 100 full points. Force, 49, out of 100 points. Spirit, 71, out of 100 points. Reputation, 39, out of 100 points. Skills, 9 Yang Manual, 9 Yin Manual, Heaven and Earth Gate Tao Te Ching, Southern Gu Technique, Star Body Training Technique. Specialties, Intermediate Cooking Skills, Advanced Acting Skills, 5 Elements, and Bagua, Slight Dabbling. Charisma, 63, out of 100. Mark, Royal True Dragon Spirit. In addition to the spiritual growth in this mission, her reputation also increased by 2 points. It should be that she and Lily revitalized the mission faction. In the end, she became famous in mission. Although the increase in attribute value was small, He King Han's the knot in her heart dissipated because of Li Yangzi's words. Knowing that Li Yangzi was helping her behind the scenes, Lily felt a little touched. If she didn't ask him, she might not know this. She hesitated for a moment, stretched out her arms and hugged him. He took Li Yangzi's arm, leaned his head on him, and whispered, "Thank you." The Lord of the Starry Sky, who was originally aloof in her mind, entered the starry sky several times for her. Lily couldn't even explain what it felt like. If in the past she had no idea about the relationship between herself and Li Yangzi, she only felt a little annoyed. At this moment, she was somewhat grateful and touched. He had never forced her to do anything, but had always been helping her silently. Although the relationship between the two now made Lily feel a little embarrassed, but at present, it seems that such changes are not necessarily all bad. Li Yangzi looked at Lily's touched and embarrassed face, and just silently held her in his arms. The throbbing in Lily's heart would one day grow into a towering tree, and then what he wanted would no longer be just a thank you. That's all. When sending Lily to the mission again, Li Yangzi's cold fingertips touched her gently between her eyebrows, and then he let go of his hand and watched her figure slowly disappear before his eyes. On the spacious official road, 2 carriages were walking slowly on the driveway side by side. The city gate was not far ahead. A girl with a double bun stretched out her hand and pushed her. She was lying on the bed at the moment, her face obviously expressionless. A somewhat haggard person dressed up as a young woman with her hair pulled up in a bun, "Madam, madam, the carriage is about to enter the city." When Lily was sleeping soundly, Leng Hui was shaken by someone. He frowned for a while before he opened his eyes and woke up. "We will be entering the city in half an hour at the latest." My wife ordered me to call you at this hour. Do you want to drink some strong tea and wake up for a while?" As the maid said this, she reached out to touch the coffee table on the carriage. When Lily heard that there was still half an hour left, she stretched out her hand and rubbed her head. This body seemed to be still in illness. Her forehead was surprisingly hot when touched, and her whole body was soft. Lily shook her head and moved her lips. "Let me lean a little longer and talk about it after we enter the city. Don't disturb me." The maid hesitated for a moment, responded and then quietly retreated into the corner. This time Lily did not fall asleep again. Instead, she closed her eyes and began to absorb the plot. This time the plot was very simple. After more than half an hour, Lily took in the memory of this woman named Zen Lily into her mind. Shan Beihe was originally the eldest daughter of the magistrate of Fengzhou County in Zhongcheng. Her father, Shanzi County, was a late bloomer. He was a jinchi in the 16th year of Emperor Qind. He had an upright life. Shan Beihe had learned about books and rituals since he was a child. At the age of 15, his parents decided to marry Liang Jinsheng, a young jinchi. My wife, she originally thought that her husband and wife could treat each other as guests and live a happy life. Although their married life was a little different from what she had imagined, Liang Jinsheng was very cold to her after more than half a year of marriage. However, he worked very hard to treat her every day. She put her mind on studying. She was admitted as a jinchi last year and this year she was appointed as the magistrate of Qinhua County by the imperial court. Seeing her husband working so hard, Shan Lily felt honored in her heart. Even if Liang Jinsheng made sarcastic remarks to her, she would bear all the grievances. All endured. After Liang Jinsheng went to Qinhua to take office, Shan Beihe married her husband and took office together with her husband. However, she did not expect that she would lose the life she imagined as a prime minister and a son. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly votes. Your support is my biggest motivation. P.S. Fourth update. Thanks to Flying Bird Kate, Dear Heshabai for the reward. Thanks to Mars Tong, He Shivi for the reward from the cute owner. Thanks to Ongtao Taamao, my dear Tu and Shivi for the reward. The fourth update, Flying Bird Kate, Dear He Shivi will update. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Canon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 430. Liang Jinsheng was originally from a wealthy gentleman's family. He got an official position after becoming a jinchi. He was considered a carp who ate the imperial rations and jumped into the Dragon Gate. He and Shan Lily were originally a good match, but he didn't expect that after he went to Qinhua to serve, he would end up there. In the first case that was tried, the plaintiff Nian was taken into the backyard as a concubine. Nian's original name was Nian Jiaonu, and she was originally the concubine of Wang Ping, a local cloth seller. In the plot, Wang Ping was killed. His wife accused Nian Jiaonu of committing adultery with others and killed Wang Ping. Originally, Nian Jiaonu should be executed as a rule, but Liang Jinsheng took over the case after arriving in Qinhua. After visiting and investigating, he found the person who killed Wang Ping. He was his wife. Nian Jiaonu was wronged. Liang Jinsheng hero saved the beauty, and cleared Nian Jiaonu's grievances. Nian Jiaonu was grateful and committed herself to him. This was originally a very beautiful story of repaying a debt of gratitude, but it happened that Liang Jinsheng was already married at that time. Shan Lily comforted herself at first that Nian Jiaonu was of poor origin, and that Liang Jinsheng took her in and gave her a status just to give her a way to survive. And besides, it was common for men to have 3 wives and 4 concubines at this time. No matter how jealous she was, she could only suppress her dissatisfaction, but she never expected that Liang Jinzheng would love her like a treasure since he got this Nianjiao slave. Although Nianjiaonu was called a concubine in the county government office, her status was comparable to that of the principal wife. Later, the servants in the mansion only knew Nianjiaonu as a concubine, and Shan Beihe, the principal wife, even spoke worse than Nianjiao. The slave worked, but Shan Lily endured the grievance at first. The education she received at home was to obey her father at home, her husband when she got married, and her husband to her son. The result of her patience was that Liang Jinzheng often blatantly followed Nianjiao's slave. Couple is symmetrical. As Zen Lily's life became more and more difficult day by day, she finally began to resist. She began to fight for power with Nianjiaonu. As the two women fought, the conflict escalated step by step. Shan Lily finally couldn't bear it anymore and broke up with Nianjiaonu directly. She later learned that Nianjiaonu was originally a prostitute. Shan Lily was delighted. I thought I had found a handle on Nianjiaonu, so I went to Liang Jinzheng and told him about it. Liang Jinzheng just looked at her coldly. He said that he had known Nianjiaonu's origins for a long time, and told Shan Lily directly that he was originally one of Nianjiaonu's benefactors, and that he and Nianjiaonu were lovers who had an eternal alliance. Jiaonu was listed in Qinhua because she was a famous prostitute on the Qinhua River. At that time, Liang Jinzheng came from a wealthy family. In his early years, he took Wen Yinji and Liang to a library in Qinhua to study, and got to know Nianjiaonu. Earth Fire. Love is so crazy that Liang Jinzheng is drunk in the gentle countryside every day without knowing where to go. It was not until the money he brought with him was used up and he was kicked out of Nianjiaonu's boudoir by the madam that he felt so miserable that he couldn't bear to die. Nianjiaonu did not dislike him for having no money, but gave him the money she had saved by selling herself as travel expenses to help him return home. From then on, Liang Jinzheng studied hard and finally passed the Jinshi examination. Get an official position. But after that, Nianjiaonu often shed tears. Suffering from the disdain of the madam, businessman Wang Ping was impressed by Nianjiaonu's righteous deeds and paid her 100 taels of silver to redeem her. Originally, Wang Ping only admired Nianjiaonu's righteous deeds, but in the end Nianjiaonu's righteous deeds however, Nianjiaonu was grateful for Wang Ping's redemption and volunteered to become his concubine. However, she did not expect that Wang Ping was murdered by the royal family. If Liang Jinzheng had not been appointed as the magistrate of Qinhua County, Nianjiaonu would have been unjustly killed long ago. His former lover and benefactor became a prisoner, and Liang Jinzheng was naturally very anxious. He traveled all over the country for Nianjiaonu, and finally cleared her name. The bad guy who killed her husband was imprisoned and executed after autumn, but Nianjiaonu was affectionate and righteous. Not only had the character to repay the kindness with his own life to the businessman Wang Ping, but also had the kindness to Liang Jinzheng for supporting him in the past. Liang Jinzheng was lost and found again. He loved Nianjiaonu like a treasure, but it was a pity that he could not marry her at the beginning. Now he had to make her his concubine again. Liang Jinzheng deeply felt sorry for such a good and affectionate woman, so he treated her more tenderly and considerately in the end. Although they were not a couple in name, they were still in the house. Living like a couple, over time, Liang Jinzheng almost forgot about Shan Lily. After talking about these past grievances, Liang Jinzheng looked at Shan Lily and sneered, "If you were more sensible, I could support you until you grow old, but you want to do harm to Jiaonu, how can I keep you? You have already taken possession of Jiaonu. I am not satisfied with my status as a wife. I don't like you. I only married you because of my parents' orders. Now you are so bold and want to harm my little slave. In my heart, you are not even as good as her. Superior." Only then did Shan Lily know the truth what Liang Jinzheng said, and when she heard Liang Jinzheng's threats, she immediately felt despair. She was the daughter of a dignified scholar, the daughter of a county magistrate, and finally married a good man but had to tolerate everything with a prostitute. According to Liang Jinshen's wishes, he told Nian Jiaonu that her sister could live a safe life by lying down every day. No matter how weak and temperless Shan Lily was, she couldn't stand hearing these words. What's more, this is obviously her husband, but now she has to hand it over to others without telling anyone, and she still has to watch them love each other. How can Shan Lily be willing to do so? If Liang Jinsheng had no intention of her at the beginning, he should not have married her. After marrying her, he would often miss Nian Jiaonu and sigh all day long, as if she was the culprit who separated him and Nian Jiaonu. Zanairi couldn't stand this, and she started to make a fuss. At first, Liang Jinsheng just had her locked in the yard, but later he gradually became impatient with her. He was afraid that she would harm Nian Jiaonu, but he didn't want to abandon her because Shan Lily had such a bad temper. He is weak and has no means at his disposal. He has been taught 3 obediences and 4 virtues by his family and dare not resist him. This time the quarrel seems to be a big one, but in fact it does no harm to him at all. If he divorces such a bully woman, it would be detrimental to Nian Jiaonu in exchange for a powerful one. Liang Jinsheng also knew clearly in his heart that although he regarded Nian Jiaonu as his wife and confidant, if he really wanted to marry Nian Jiaonu, his family wouldn't agree. Therefore, he needed Shan Lily as his nominal shield, but he did not want to be upset by Shan Lily. Therefore, Liang Jinsheng was disgusted and had Shan Lily locked up. He only said that she had gone crazy. She was nursed back to health, but they often fed her a large amount of soothing medicine, causing her to fall into a coma. 2 years later, Shan Lily was tortured until she became inhuman. However, Liang Jinsheng, the county magistrate, went crazy because he had feelings for his wife. He never abandoned her and did not mind that she had nothing to do after being married for several years. He still cared for her and gained a reputation far and wide. After his 3-year term, Liang Jinshen's reputation in Qinhua spread to Shangfeng's heirs. This incident was mentioned when the memorial was presented in the capital. The emperor was moved by Liang Jinshen's kindness and finally promoted him to the post of prefect after the prefect was transferred. After Liang Jinsheng was promoted, he wrote a letter asking for a royal title for Nian Jiaonu. Nian Jiaonu's righteous deeds became known to the world. She was made an exception and was named a Confucian, and her reputation spread all over the world. The love story between Liang Jinsheng and Nian Jiaonu became a legend. It is a model that has been sung by everyone in major operas and is sought after by the world. And Shan Lily, who had been imprisoned for many years in Liang Jinshen's yard, unable to live or die, just like being in prison, after trying to commit suicide several times but failed, finally found a chance to escape from the Liang family. She looked like a withered bone and was crazy and dizzy. Shan Lily was 15 years old when she married Liang Jinsheng. It was only 3 or 4 years since she was crazy. The young woman who was less than 20 years old looked like a withered person. Like a dying old woman, she returned to her natal family. Today's natal family is no longer the good family that could be on par with Liang Jinsheng in the past. After Liang Jinsheng became famous, the good family became even more attached to the Liang family. Her parents did not dare to take Lily in, and even claimed that she was just a liar and arrested her. The good father rebuked the idea that his daughter should marry and obey her husband, and bluntly said that her behavior of running away from home was extremely shameful and corrupt. The reputation of the Shan family finally sent her back to the Liang family. From then on, Liang Jinsheng took a closer look at her. In the end, Shan Lily truly went crazy. This situation continued until the old emperor died and the new emperor came to the throne. However, Liang Jinsheng failed because of his high position and power. She participated in the battle for the throne, but unexpectedly she was on the wrong team. The new emperor settled the accounts in the fall, and Liang Jinsheng was finally ransacked and beheaded. Only then did Shan Lily's tragic life truly end. After Lily received the memory, she just sighed in her heart. A poor woman became a victim for the so-called love. The ending of Zen Lily in this mission is very bleak. Even if Lily has done many missions, thinking about the plot and Zen Lily's original memory of her being driven crazy still makes Lily feel numb all over. But what happened was beyond Lily's expectation. She didn't know whether it was because of her weak temperament or because she was born kind and had the heart to repay evil with kindness. She didn't want to take revenge on anyone, as long as she could be with Liang Jinsheng and Nian Jiaonu in this life. Before they get together, let her leave safely. From now on, she can live her life without disturbing each other. Although Shan Lily hated Liang Jinsheng who abused her, and she also resented her parents who only knew etiquette and morals but were ruthless and unjust, she was fed up with spending her whole life revolving around others, and the most important thing was her thoughts. She was afraid that the person who helped her fulfill her wish would end up like this. In her heart, she hated and feared Liang Jinsheng, so she couldn't bear to let Lily take revenge for her, nor could she bear to make many demands from Lily. And for Shan Lily, the Liang family, it was a terrible prison, so she just hoped that Lily could leave the Liang family and live alone. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly votes. Your support is my biggest motivation. Canon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan Erwr. Chapter 431. This time, Shan Lily was indeed Shan. She even thought about whether Lily would be in trouble. The corner of Lily's mouth twitched. She would try her best to satisfy the original owner's wish, but Lily was still ready to find justice for the original owner. She wanted Liang Jinsheng to pay 10 times the price for what he had done. Such a stupid woman who could not learn to hate after being hurt was actually forced to this point by Liang Jinsheng and the two of them. There is nothing wrong with love being selfish. But if you are selfish to the point of harming others, then you absolutely cannot forgive it. At this point in the plot, it should have been more than half a year after Shan Beihe got married to Liang Jinsheng. Liang Jinsheng won the Jinshi and was appointed as the magistrate of Qinhua County. At this time, he went out to take up his post. Shan Beihe may have had some troubles along the way. The reason for the dissatisfaction was that she was a lady and her body had always been weak, so she fell ill halfway through the walk. However, Liang Jinsheng had no pity for her. He knew that Shan Lily was not feeling well and did not slow down his journey. On the contrary, people were rushing towards Qinhua. In the plot, Shan Lily only thought that Liang Jinsheng was eager to take the post, but in fact, it was later found out that Liang Jinsheng was anxious to go to Qinhua to find the whereabouts of Nian Jiaonu. He was anxious to see his lover, so he didn't care about the newlyweds. My wife can't bear the pain of traveling long distances. Thinking of this, Lily cursed secretly in her heart, and sat up despite her dizziness. Shan Lily's body has always been very weak. She has always been raised in a boudoir and does not exercise at ordinary times. At most, she occasionally does embroidery and reads women's vows. Her life is boring and boring. Because she has been strictly taught by ladies, she speaks very little. The girls who were accompanying her as brides were also poor talkers, and their personalities were similar to hers. They are all gentle and demure women. Such a girl may be liked by her elders after going out. But for men, they are not as charming as those famous prostitutes in Qinhua who have seen the world and know how to please men. Moreover, Shan Lily is surrounded by such people, so that after her accident, they all turned out to be. She was so helpless that she complained that the sky was not responding and the earth was not working. What time is it? After receiving the plot, the carriage was entering the city. It seemed that it was still early. There was actually a long queue of people who were going to enter the city. Liang Jinsheng was asking someone to take his road guide and identity certificate to enter the city early. At this moment, the soldiers guarding the city were about to drive the merchants and people aside. It was April, and the weather outside was neither hot nor cold, which was a comfortable time, but it was extremely stuffy inside the carriage. Lily stretched out her hand to pull up the curtains that were tightly blocking the carriage. This move frightened the two maids. He jumped, his face turned pale with shock, and he almost forgot what Lily had just asked. He said hurriedly, "Madam, madam. If the master sees it, I'm afraid my wife will be blamed for her inappropriate behavior." Lily waved her hand carelessly and couldn't help but sneer, "What's wrong? I guess he won't even see me even if I jump off the carriage. Why are you panicking?" Liang Jinshen's heart has never been with Shan Lily. He doesn't care whether she goes out of line or follows the rules. When a man likes her, he will still regard her as a jewel, even if Nian Jiaonu is not the same as him. She was not a court lady, but she later committed herself to the businessman Wang Ping. In the eyes of the world at this time, women like Nian Jiaonu were the most inferior, with poor family background and poor etiquette, but Liang Jinsheng just liked her. Today, Shan Lily just wants to live her own life, and is not ready to get entangled with Liang Jinsheng anymore. Bei doesn't have to care about Liang Jinshen's thoughts, so she will naturally act as she pleases at this moment. It's just that these two girls are the sons of the good family who were married off. Their personalities are similar to the original owners. They are cowardly and incompetent. They are also deeply poisoned by the female preceptor. If she knew that Bei wanted to make peace with Liang Jinsheng at this time, she would probably have to not only did they frighten their courage, but they might even do something bad. Lily planned to replace them with two more capable girls, so that at least she would not be alone in the future. "Master, he..." The two maids bit their lips and looked at each other. They felt that Lily seemed to be a different person today, but after all, they were different from master and servant, so they hesitated for a moment, seeing Lily's face full of impatience. After a look on his face, he swallowed the words that came to his lips. Liang Jinsheng in front may have already greeted the city defenders. After a while, the carriage began to move slowly again. Lily stared at the scenery outside with great interest, and all the way into the county government office, Liang Jinsheng didn't even change his clothes, let alone asked whether his newlywed wife was feeling better now, and went out in a hurry to get ready. Going to look for Nian Jiaonu, Lily asked someone to prepare hot water for herself and took a good bath. After sweating all over, she felt a little more comfortable. After driving the two maids with stiff expressions out, Lily first tried to do a few star body training movements. This body could actually practice star body training skills and the 9 Yang manual. It was just because it was too weak. After doing 7 or 8 moves, she was already exhausted and covered in sweat. She couldn't eat enough to become a big fat person in one breath. Lily had to stop first. Anyway, it was still early before Liang Jinsheng wanted to take Nian Jiaonu into his house, so there was still time to make arrangements slowly, not to mention that when Lily was about to leave the Liang family, she had to turn the Liang family upside down in order to relieve the original owner of the bad anger in her heart. Lily first asked the kitchen to prepare her favorite meals, filled her stomach alone, and then asked the maid to carry out her dowry and other items and count them carefully. In the past, the original owner did not take these things seriously. In the end, because she did not consummate the marriage with Liang Jinsheng and could not give birth to a child, the dowry was transferred by Liang Jinsheng to the name of the child Nian Jiaonu gave birth to for him. Although he did not get it in the end, it was confiscated by the court. But now Lily still feels sick when she thinks about it. Although the Shan family is a bit old-fashioned, they gave Shan Lily a lot of things. In addition to some small gold and silver jewelry, there were also a few boxes of clothes, cloth, spices, and other items, which were worth nearly 500 taels of silver. While he was calculating in his mind, Liang Jinsheng came back with a dark face. The two girls waited on him, changed his clothes and washed his face. Lily sat aside but did not move. Liang Jinsheng looked up at Lily in surprise, and his brows suddenly wrinkled. In the past, Shan Lily treated him attentively as soon as he returned home. Although Liang Jinsheng already had someone else in his heart and was not interested in Shan Lily, he also developed the habit of being served by Shan Lily attentively. Shi Bei changed his appearance, and his face became a little ugly. To be honest, Liang Jinsheng is not bad in appearance. He is tall and slender. Although he is young now, because he has passed the exam, he has begun to grow a beard on his lips, and he looks mature and steady. His facial features can be regarded as Zhouzhang, and maybe because he is a master, he is not like the smeared makeup of scholars nowadays, which makes people look a little brighter. From this, we can imagine how handsome and romantic he looked when he was young. No wonder Wang Kekeng if he wins, Nian Jiaonu, a sister who has never touched her body, will take a fancy to him because of this, and she is willing to give her own body to help him get home. If she hadn't become the obstacle between Liang Jinsheng and Nian Jiaonu this time, I'm afraid Lily would have praised these two people for their love and righteousness, but it just happened that these two people were in love, but this love was established under the premise of hurting others. If nothing happens, don't stare at your dowry money all day long. It's too vulgar. No one will want your money. Liang Jinsheng has been back for a long time. He and Shan Bai have been married for a long time. Although the two have not consummated their marriage, she did not miss anything that Shan Bai did. She arranged Liang Jinshen's food, clothing, housing, and transportation more thoughtfully than his parents did to him. Once Bailey left her hands, the two girls in the room immediately acted like fools and were at a loss. Liang Jinsheng came back for a while and was so hungry that he rushed all the way to Qinhua. After he came back, he was anxious to find the whereabouts of Jiaonu, so he went out without going home to wash and eat. Unexpectedly, no one was found in the end. But Lily didn't know why she was crazy, and she actually ignored him. That's not necessarily the case, Lily said coldly to him. No one would want her money. In the plot, Liang Jinsheng stole Shan Lily's money for his son. What's more, what the master said is wrong. Money, it's such a vulgar thing, I can look down on it, but I can't do it without money. The sentence is perfect for Liang Jinsheng. Back then, when he had a lot of money, he often used it to read Jiaonu, but the old madam regarded him as the god of wealth. I see, I treat him with respect when I come in and out, and I never show any slightness. Once I empty out the 1,000 taels of silver in his hand, I not only throw away his things, but also yell at him to beat him and kill him. He couldn't even see Nian Jiaonu's face. In just a few years, he started talking about money as a vulgar thing, as if he could live without these vulgar things. Hearing Lily's words that seemed to mean something, Liang Jinshen's face suddenly darkened. The Liang family was originally from a prosperous family, and he had never tasted the lack of silver, but he had also been short of money in his life. At this moment, Lily's words obviously did not necessarily refer to him, but Liang Jinsheng felt guilty and always felt that Lily meant something, so he felt secretly resentful when he heard it. In the past, Shan Lily regarded him as a god and whatever he said was whatever he said. How had Shan Lily ever talked back to him? Now he said that money is a vulgar thing, and Shan Lily had more truths. He just said one sentence, but she said something back. Liang Jinsheng stood up, feeling very unhappy. He wanted to leave, but Bei didn't want to leave him. This body had been married to Liang Jinsheng for months, except for the 2 days of the wedding, in order to deal with the family members. After moving in, Liang Jinsheng has been neglecting Shan Lily until now. The original owner might be sad because of this and wiped tears behind his back, but Lily felt sick when she saw Liang Jinsheng. Seeing him get up and take a few steps, she just pretended not to notice. When he felt normal, he lowered his head. To be continued.